Good morning. Ooh.
You can carry on, Michael.
As ever, slick and professional. Good morning and welcome to 5 Steps to Creating a Successful Business Awards entry. This has been put together by David O'Brien and myself as part of our support for the Business Awards in conjunction with Newark Business Club. So Newark Business Club's association with the awards, which we see as being really important for the region. And we put this and another workshop on to support the awards. I'd also like to mention, because it'd be remiss of me not to, that we are also sponsors of the Winners Champagne. So hopefully people who go through this, we don't guarantee winning, that would be completely wrong. However, we did have quite a good success rate last year, so just so you're aware. But certainly the Winners Champagne should be enjoyed with David and I when received at the end of the evening. So yeah, so we'd like to take you through what we believe 5 steps that will help you create a successful awards entry. And the Business Awards are a really important part of the annual business community within Newark and the surrounding areas, because it brings together what is a real array of businesses in the community. And I know everybody on the call who goes to the business club and lots of other networking knows that we have a fantastic business community in Newark and the surrounding villages and towns. And this year's awards, we've got 10 categories. So there they are on the screen: Best Social Enterprise, Best Startup, Best Business Innovation, Business of the Year, Business Person of the Year, Customer Care, Employer of the Year, Environmental Champion, which is a new award this year, Independent Retailer, which is probably one of the biggest and hardest awards to win, and Team of the Year. So a real array. And what we're going to talk you through is all of those different awards, how each of them is important, and also, you know, the information we give will help you with any and all of those. So what we're going to start with is just a quick round the room. So name, business, which category you've entered and why you've entered the awards. It's just always interesting to get to know what people are entered in and why they see the value of entering the awards, which we obviously believe are really important, but just to get your take on it. So in no particular order, just the order I've written you down on my list. So we're going to start with Alice.
Knew you would. I'm still a little bit unsure. I think obviously being in the finals for the last 2 years and not making it through, I'm like, if we don't do it for this 3rd year and don't finally win, I'm going to be super miffed. So I'm torn between 3. So Business of the Year, Team of the Year, and Employer of the Year. I think the one that I really want to do is Team of the Year, because I think it's the girls who work for me who deserve all the credit. So I think that's one that I'm going to go for.
Brilliant. And why do you enter them?
Why do I enter them? Mainly for recognition for the team. Yeah. I know I think it's quite hard. Not that it's imposter syndrome, but I think without the team, I would be null and void. I can't run the business without the staff. So I think my priority is for them. Getting recognition for them is like a well done, and also recognition for the business. Obviously, it's always great to sort of drill down new business from the awards.
Yeah, absolutely. Fantastic. Thank you, Alice. Janice.
Like Alice, I'm 3rd year. This is the 3rd year. So the 1st year I was nominated in Best Startup. I got through to the final for that. Didn't win it, but absolutely blown with being nominated and actually getting through to the final. I also had it was through COVID, it was the COVID award, because in the 2nd year I managed to keep myself visible by completely change, because the showroom, so bra fitter, showroom closed, started the business September 19, COVID hit, so I haven't had a full year of actually being open. So last year I was in the independent retailer, got to the final, didn't win it, but you know, it's just great to get my name out there, for people to understand what I'm doing and what I'm trying to get across and the service that we give. I've actually got 4 nominations this year. Business of the Year, Business Person of the Year, which I've been nominated for, Customer Care and Independent Retailer of the Year. I'm absolutely blown away, because hopefully what I'm doing is getting out there for the service, and people are coming from further and further away. The customer care is, I really, really care about everybody that comes through the door, and I try to make everybody feel special. Business Person of the Year, I'm actually, my head's blown with that being nominated, because I'm trying to think outside the box and looking at education and getting into schools, being a speaker, doing all that side. So I've got so many different ideas for the business, and I've got a great team around me. So yeah, I got to the final, and I just think it's great to be recognised for what I'm doing.
Brilliant, fantastic, Janice, and that's great to hear. And 4 awards, that's incredible. Claire.
Hello, everybody.
Hi.
I'm a little bit confused actually from everyone else speaking, because I don't know if I'm meant to have been nominated for these, or if I'm meant to put myself forward for them, or if I'm in the wrong place, or
You can nominate yourself, so it's absolutely, and Sharon will probably share a little bit about that with you.
Okay.
I think nominations close tomorrow. Sharon, is it tomorrow?
Yes, tomorrow at 5 o'clock.
Better get shifting on then. So I guess I've got 2 businesses, and I think really I'm representing at the minute to the wider sort of market is my social enterprise, Positively Empowered Kids, because what we've achieved there is just phenomenal. We've created a model that we've rolled out in communities, families and schools, particularly in the Gedling area, and it's now moving to Newark. So we're replicating what we've done there, and coming to Newark with that, having some fantastic meetings, some really, really exciting developments. So again, I'm not quite sure if we're too early in the stage to be really kind of considered for it, although I am known through Positive Pants around Newark with various people. So, I mean, obviously the best social enterprise would be the one that we'd be looking at for that. And then potentially looking at Business Person of the Year, and the customer care element with Positive Pants, really. That kind of extra mile that I go with every child and family, the extra support, the different touch points, that might be something, but I'm not entirely sure. I'm a bit new to I've won a few awards already, but I am a little bit new to this whole arena, putting myself forward that much. And I think I can see the value of it. I see everyone else's posts when they've been nominated, when they're finalists. And I think it really helps you to stand out as being one of the, significant parts of the community, which is something I want to be part of.
Yeah. And hopefully, by the end of today, hopefully you'll have the sort of framework for the application, which is the sort of second stage. But also you'll understand the benefits of being nominated or nominating, and why you would enter. And there is wider things. It's always nice to win these things, undoubtedly. We shouldn't underestimate just becoming a finalist, because that in itself is a pretty tough competition just to get into the last 3 or 4, depending on the category. And actually, by entering, it does allow you to stop and think, and that's something we're going to talk about over the next hour or so. Just sometimes it's about reminding ourselves, small business owners, we get very busy in the day, doing our jobs and forget actually what we've achieved. And sometimes just looking back at what's happened over the past 2 and 3 and 4 years since you started.
It's very powerful. And as I say, we've won a few awards already, and we've just been nominated as finalists for another couple with an organisation. So we've and we do regularly go through that process of reviewing. We don't ever want to take anything for granted that we're achieving. So we regularly step back and go, wow, okay, this is where we are. So yeah, thank you.
Brilliant. Well, great to have you here, Claire. Sharon, before we kick off with the sort of
Michael Simon's joined, I think.
Oh, excellent.
So we can't see him or hear him at the moment. So
okay. Well, Sharon, is there anything you want to add before we sort of kick off with the main part of the?
I just wanted to, you said some of it actually, Michael. I wanted to remind everybody that, you know, being a finalist it's a real compliment to what you're achieving, because there are so many entries, and you'll substantiate this, Michael, in the categories. That drilling down to the last 3 or 4 is a really tough job for the judges. So, you know, you should give yourselves a pat on the back just for getting there. Winning's great, but you know what you're doing is being recognized just by you being there. So I'd also like to remind you that you can enter up to 3 categories. You don't need to hover around which one you necessarily want to go for. If you want to put yourself forward for more than one, you can, as long as it's a maximum of 3. And you can write, when you're doing your entry pack, you can separate those categories if you like. So if you put a header in your entry pack and saying, this is why I'm entering this one, this is why I'm entering this one, then they're all treated individually. And that was it, really.
Brilliant. Thank you, Sharon, and appreciate your support being on the call today. Good morning to Simon Allen, who's just joined us. Thanks for joining. We're still in the early stages, Simon, so you've not missed a huge amount other than me whittering on. So is there, if we could just get you to introduce yourself, your business, what categories you've entered and why, if that's possible?
Yeah, my name's Simon Allen. I'm one of the directors at Access Accounts Services. We're a small local accountancy practice dealing predominantly with small to medium-sized owner-managed businesses. We have entered only one category at the moment, which is Business Person of the Year, entered for my wife. It may be at the end of this presentation. But we decide we might put ourselves forward for 1 or 2 more, and we'll see how today goes.
Brilliant. So is that Michelle, Business Person?
Absolutely. It's certainly not me, is it, Michael?
Well, I didn't want to assume that was all, Simon.
No, that's right. It's Michelle that's been nominated for that category.
Brilliant. So you're her publicist today. You're going to take all the information and write the.
Absolutely. It's down to me to try and make her look good.
I'm saying nothing because this is being recorded, so we'll move on quickly. Great stuff.
Apologies for the late arrival. I've had one of those mornings where everything has conspired against me. I honestly didn't think I was going to get on at all, so I'm glad to be here.
Well, great to see you, and it does seem to have been a bit of a technical challenge this morning for a few of us. So,
absolutely.
David.
Thank you, Michael. I'll just reiterate what Sharon was saying about getting to the final being a fantastic achievement because of the number of entries that you get. And when you get to the final and the judges have to look at 3 different businesses, often those businesses are quite different, even though they're in the same category. And it can be like comparing apples with pineapples with a piece of lettuce sort of thing. And it can be very difficult to choose. So the fact that you get to the final but don't win, it can almost be random because it is so difficult to compare different businesses, and often it's so close in terms of, everybody could win, but there's this one little element that you look at. So, having been a judge at the Grantham Business Awards last year, then I know it's really difficult when you get 3 finalists, you get 3 fantastic businesses. So Don't beat yourself up if you don't win, and if you don't get to the final, because there's lots of business going. But just going through this process of what we're going to look at today, of examining your business and thinking about the stories in the business and how to present yourself. Great for the awards, but also great for just thinking about your marketing in general, your website, how you put things across. So it's quite a useful process to go through in any rate. So we're going to look at the process, and we're going to dig down to some of the sort of nuggets of how you present yourself. So in terms of just looking at the process, you have this information. You need to think about making a compelling case, because the judges probably won't know anything about you, or might know a little bit about you before they start. So it's all about what's in that entry that you put forward. So it really it's worth taking time to get it down and to put it in and to create it in the right way. So give yourself enough time to do your entry. So you know that you've got to enter by 5 o'clock tomorrow. You've got to make sure you get those in, otherwise you've missed the boat. Then you've got plenty of time to think about how you put your entry together, and it really does make a difference, because that's what the judges are going on. So think of examples you can use. Don't just fill it in at the last minute with a few details, because other people will put a lot of work into it. Add that spice in, add some humour in, tell the story, and then check it so that it's representing your business in the right way, or get somebody else to check it. So, and if you do it and get through and you're a winner, you could be standing next to Michael there this year. There he is with one of the winners last year, and have that fantastic photo. So, okay.
David, it's just worth. So entries is by tomorrow. It's the 26th is the final full application.
Yes,
so,
correct.
Yeah. So the nominations and entries is tomorrow at 5 o'clock, and then you've got another 9 days before the full entry pack gets completed.
Okay, so it's not a lot of time.
So sorry?
It's not a lot of time to get it all together then. So
no, but yeah.
So take some notes as we go through today. Start thinking about the kind of information you need to pull together. So this is from the form that you'll be sent if you haven't been sent it already. So gather information from what's happening in your business, successes you've had. You might talk about some numbers, the products and services that you have, things that you've done. It may be for specific categories that talking about the policies you have, sort of social enterprise are important. Strategies, future plans, growth, that's a key area. But it's important to look at each individual one and then fit them around. This is effectively the template that you've got to give them the information. So the questions that you'll be asked are, what's the function of the organisation? How long have you been going? Tell us the history. What are your key achievements in the last 12 months? Remembering this is the 2022 Business Awards, looking at the last 12 months. So that's the period to focus on, although you'll be talking about the wider context and the history of the business. And then highlight how you meet each of the criteria. So the criteria for each of the categories you're entering. And that's where Sharon's saying, if you're entering more than one, do separate it out so it's easy for the judges to see the message you have specifically for them. Okay, so let's just look at that first thing of what are the criteria. And the criteria are there on the website.
David,
yeah.
David, sorry, can I interject really quickly? You know, if you're entering more than one category, a lot of the information almost crosses over, and I found myself before looking like I'm almost duplicating what it is that I'm saying. Is that not that it's disallowed, but is that almost frowned upon? Because sometimes there is just that natural crossover of categories.
So no, I don't think it's frowned upon, because what will happen is that you'll have judges for one category. So if you fill it all in on the same application form, they'll look at the bit that you highlight for them, so they won't read through the other ones.
Okay, I didn't know if they just read the whole thing but only really focused on theirs.
If they're diligent like Michael, they might read the whole thing. But I mean, if you flag to them, this is the bit for you in this question, then they will look at that, and that's what they'll take into account. So they're not going to go, oh, you've said the same thing through it. And you will say a lot of it will cross over, so I don't think that counts against you at all. But I think it is worth separating it out and not just putting a general thing that you think covers everything, because then it's
I agree.
A bit blurry.
I think the first 4 questions, it's general stuff. It's question 5 where people can get themselves a little bit sort of confused, or where they write one piece of text about the business and expect the judge to pull out the information that's pertinent to that award. So even if there is some crossover, title which is the award this is talking about, and then the information, and then title. So even if you've got 3 there, 4, maybe 3, So you bullet point with each one, and even if there is crossover, then the judge for that category can just go to his or her part and take that out rather than having to work at it. Because if you can imagine that when I've had 20 applicants before now, which is a lot of people to read, and therefore it's a bit like getting CVs for applicants for jobs,
You just skim until it gets to the good bit.
Yeah. And if it's difficult to find the good bit, then it's difficult to find it.
Funny, I just think, digressing, being in the finals for the last few years, I always just assumed that maybe it was just me and the other two people who were in the finals are the only ones who ever submitted, which is why we managed to get to the finals. I didn't imagine that there was that amount of submissions.
Absolutely, which is why Sharon loves me so much. You see, not only do we sponsor, but actually she knows the amount of work we get to go through reading all the applicants, and it's an amazing experience to meet so many great businesses. But yeah, there are lots of applicants for every category.
You're going to go through who the judges are or how many there are? Is that part of the slides later, or?
We won't today, but in due course that will be released. We've still got to pull in a couple more judges this week, before close of business this week. So,
will they know who the judges are when they're filling in the form?
No, not necessarily. No,
but they'll know the sponsor of the category.
Yes.
Which one?
So generally, the judges will come from the sponsoring business of each category. So if you know the business and you know some of the people in there, then you could well know one of the judges. We will share who the judges are. We tend to do that over our social media platforms. And we will be doing a judges content page in the advertiser.
So what you'll see on the website is the category and the sponsor. And it's worth taking into account who the judges are likely to be, or want to know who the judges are, because if you think about it, that an accountant is going to be quite focused on detail. Somebody who's an entrepreneur who's set up a fantastic innovative business might be more interested in the innovative side. Somebody who's a logistics business, I think one of the categories has been sponsored by a logistics business, they might be really into the detail and the process and the operation. So try and get inside the judge's head a little bit. I think it is worth it. But let's go back to the start. So we're going to look at business person of the year, this particular one. So what you've got there is the winner will be an individual who stands out from the crowd, has an entrepreneurial spirit, demonstrates outstanding achievement, inspires others around them. The winner of this award will have been key to the success of their enterprise, as well as encouraging and contributing to the overall business success of the region. Okay. So you have that description, and that's what you're looking to match. So the first thing to do is to pick out what is key within that. So let's look at the key phrases. You stand out from the crowd. You have an entrepreneurial spirit. You demonstrate outstanding achievement. You inspire others around you. You're key to the success of your business. You encourage and contribute to the overall business success of the region. That's what you need to. Oh, Katie Huggett has entered the waiting room. There we go. Kate Huggett, rather. So then what you can do is pull that out and create a list. So these are the criteria. These are the criteria for this particular category. And you've almost got a checklist of you've got to get that into your entry. You've got to show how you stand out from the crowd. Why are you different? You've got to show that you've got an entrepreneurial spirit. What have you done to show that you're an entrepreneur? Demonstrate outstanding achievement. So not just we hit all our targets. That's not outstanding. Lots of people hit all their targets. What's outstanding about what you've achieved? What's really different? What makes you stand out from the crowd? How do you inspire others around you? What do you do that has an effect on other people inside the business, outside the business? How are you key to the success of your business? You can't hide your light under the bushel for this particular category. You've got to show that you are integral to the business. Encourage the business success of the region. So how do you contribute to Newark and Sherwood as a whole, Newark, and get that across, and the overall business success of the region? So it's not just about your business. You've got to get something in about the wider community and how you do that. So once you drill down, you've got almost a checklist to work against, and then you can start to put your story together. So we're going to look at 5 steps, 5 things to think about and try and include within that story that you're putting together. So the first one is your business why, or your purpose. And there's 2 slightly different things that we'll talk about. So your why is why you started the business. That's a great thing to share. That we'll come on to that, what we call the founder's story. why you started it. It's a real way that you can connect with people. So this may be a personal experience, maybe something that happened to you that made you think, right, we've got to do it this way. This, if you want to check a founder's story, this chap Mark King, his son died, and the Oliver King Foundation is about putting defibrillators into every school and every community sports location, because he's got a personal interest. So was it something that happened to you, or something that you experienced that created your why? Is it something you're passionate about, that you really believe in, that is massively important to you? Is it a vision that you've got that something could be different? So what is it that drives you? What's your business why that really gets you going? And what gets you out of bed in the morning? What makes you excited about going to work? So for any of the categories, not just business person of the year, you've got to build this story, your why, what's important to you, what your motivation is. That's a real key element to thread through the story that you're telling. And your purpose is slightly different. So the why is about you and what motivates you and why you started, and the purpose is the problem you solve for your clients or your customers. So this is the classic quote on this. The CEO of Black & Decker said that people don't go into a DIY store because they need to buy a drill. They go in because they need to make a hole in the wall. So Black & Decker, rather than focusing on making drill of the year, technically brilliant, that's difficult to use, they should be focusing on how do you make it really easy and effective for somebody to make a hole in the wall. So what's the hole in the wall for your business? What's the thing that you really help people to do, the problem that you solve for your clients, your customers? So think about that customer experience. What is it that you actually deliver for clients and customers? So that's your purpose, the purpose of the business, the problem that you solve, the fantastic experience that you give people. Okay, we'll say hello to you in a second. We're going to stop in a sec, so we will do that. So here. So your customer journey, the change journey that you're taking people on, businesses tend to either take people away from a pain, away from a problem, or towards a pleasure, towards a fantastic experience. That's effectively what drives change. So what is it that you're doing for your customers? Are you taking a problem away? Are you giving them a fantastic experience? You may be doing both, but it's really about that journey. How can you describe the change journey, the customer journey, what's happening, and make it emotional, add some emotion, and not just a technical, we change this for this, but we change people's lives, we allow them to do this, we take away this problem, and really put some energy into it. Okay. So we'll take a pause there, and we'll get you to think about and to share with us either your why or your purpose, or both. And we'll also say hello. I'll stop sharing the screen so that I can just bring a few more people up. Hello, Michael, do you want to just talk through this bit?
Yeah, so hi, Kate. Kate, is it Kate?
Hi, yes, Kate.
Do you want to just introduce yourself to everybody? Just
yeah, of course. So I'm the marketing manager at Green Zone Facilities Management. So we are based in Newark,
yeah.
And we are a waste management company. So we deal with the small independent retailer on the high street, way up to MOD clients. So we've got a vast, obviously, customer base that we cover. We are sponsoring the Environmental Champion Award, and we are entering for Business of the Year and Team of the Year.
Fantastic. Brilliant. Well, great to have you part of the group. Thank you very much.
Yeah, I'm sorry I'm a bit late. I've just come back from annual leave.
Oh.
So I was going through my emails and I saw the invite and I thought, oh my God, hello.
No problem at all. No problem at all. Well, great to see you. First stage of entering is about sort of going back to what's your why, what's your purpose. So do you want to have 2 minutes just to jot something down? Just think about that, and then we'll come around and maybe get some thoughts from you. So what is it, the problem that you solve, and what's the customer journey that they go on? And this sort of rolls across both questions 1 and 3 in terms of the questions that are asked within the forms that you need to fill in. So about, obviously the function of the business, but also the history of the business. So if you can have some understanding of what you do and why you do it, then in this section it can really lift your application. So going around the room, who wants to go first? I won't pick anybody this time. I'll ask for volunteers. Who's going to step forward and be the first? Oh, go on, Janice. There we go.
The reason why I do what I do is the main reason is I had breast surgery at 19. I was 19, found a lump and ended up having a lumpectomy at 19. 58 now, so a long time ago. I felt really on my own. I wanted that help, that there wasn't anybody there to advise. I wanted to look for nice things and I couldn't find them. And that's why I always found myself going and actually being one of the lingerie fitters at M&S. That was my passion. I loved making people feel better about themselves and not feel embarrassed. So I knew there was a lot more to underwear, and I'm a person that picks everything to pieces and wants to understand how this is what like it is. So when I got made redundant from M&S, it was a no-brainer for me to set up my own business with being an underwear fitter, making underwear accessible for everybody, sourcing the right items, being trained as a prosthesis fitter, being accessible for people that couldn't get out to a shop. I just absolutely love what I do. People come to me because they want a new bra, they want to be comfortable, and I give people honest advice and talk about your breast development and why certain styles are better for people. There's not one shape, everybody's shape is different. So it's the understanding, and I'm trying to narrow that gap, that we take our children to go and get measured when their feet grow. We should actually take our children to go and get measured when they start developing the breast tissue, because you can damage your breast tissue. So that's why now I'm wanting to be a speaker and get that message out. So it's the passion I've got.
Yeah, that personal piece, that wanting to, just so powerful, and always comes across. Anybody who's heard Janice speak before will know how passionate and powerful the message is that she delivers. So brilliant, Janice, thank you for that. Anybody else would like to go? Claire? Oh, Kat's in the room. There we go.
Never confident following Janice, but
no,
she's amazing. Yeah, so Positively Empowered Kids, a social enterprise, was founded by myself and Jackie Wilson, and we're both co-founders. And it came about purely because of our own personal experiences growing up around our mental health issues. So for me personally, I went through quite a lot of significant changes as a sort of mid-teenager, including lots of hidden illnesses, type 1 diabetes, death of family members, parent abandonment, all sorts of things like that anyway. But it all built up. I didn't know how to cope with it. I didn't know where to turn, and unfortunately I at the time decided to try and take my own life, and I overcame it. I was never going to be one to be held down for too long, but particularly as I grew up and kind of recurringly suffered with depression and postnatal depression. When I had my daughter, it was the real drive to turn around and say, I don't want her to go through what I went through. There must be ways out there for children to be able to thrive, to know where to turn, to empower themselves so that they can have healthy, thriving, empowering minds. Jackie had an experience of her own, different, but in a similar vein. And so we collaborated through our individual businesses that we both have, to say, actually, we can affect more change and help more people collaboratively than we can on our own. And so what we then created was a social enterprise to empower change in children, to empower them to build their own confidence, but also the ecosystem around the child. So a child's influence isn't just a parent, it's aunts and uncles, it's grandparents, it's people they meet in the shop, it's people in the community, it's businesses, it's their teachers. And so we feel really passionately that we can affect the change in the mental health and well-being of all of those different elements around a child, so that our children kind of can grow up being able to deal with things themselves, find the right way that's, you know, that's right for them. And we do this wholeheartedly in many different ways. That's
Brilliant.
a summary.
Claire, again, very powerful and very personal, and you know that is definitely why you will impact people and make such an impact in the community. So amazing! Thank you for sharing that. That's fantastic.
It's a bit much for first thing in the morning.
It's great, and it's important, because those, you know, in your business, you know, because it is a business, in getting it out there and getting people to understand those, you know, those feelings, it's that emotion is what attracts people. Anybody else like to share their why or purpose?
I'll have a go.
Go for it, Simon.
Right. Yeah, I always find these sort of things kind of quite difficult, particularly following the two businesses that we've just heard from, because, you know, essentially we're an accountancy practice, and you know, the emotional attachment to that is perhaps not quite as significant as the two businesses that we've just heard from. But both Michelle and myself come from a background of having parents who ran small businesses, and that's something that's quite important to both of us, helping out those types of businesses. My dad unfortunately lost his business, and Michelle's dad could have done with an awful lot more help with his during the time. So that's something that's kind of central to our ethos as a business and to where we want to be. We want to feel as though we are acting as advisors and trusted members of those people's team. We had a vision in starting the business of being professional, affordable, accessible, and local to our clients. And we took over the business back 4.5 years ago, and we consistently heard the same sort of stories about accountants, that there was almost a fear of clients picking up the phone to speak to their accountant because they thought it was going to be expensive, or they felt stupid. They didn't want to ask stupid questions, those sort of things. So we wanted to create a business and a brand that encouraged our clients to talk to us, which is why when we rebranded, we used the tagline, "Your open door accountants." And that's really what we see as our purpose for the business, is we want all of our clients to feel that they're encouraged to pick up the phone, speak to us, ask any questions, and we will provide friendly, honest, and hopefully affordable advice to them. That simple, really.
Brilliant. And you know, going after Janice and Claire, I know is but fantastic, because again, you've got a background, a history, and you know, you're coming at it from a place where you're helping businesses, you're seeing historical challenges that you know could have been handled better, I'm sure, and providing that service for the community. So while you are accountants, you're different. So that's important. So brilliant, Simon. Thank you for that. Alice, do you want to share yours?
I can unmute now. Yeah, I think it's quite difficult. Again, following on from everybody else, I came from a background in purchasing, so I had no sort of business experience, no management, no leadership, no nothing. And I left my job after we had our first son, and he was about 3 when I left. Because as much as I wanted to do the whole career mum with your fancy suit and running off to work in your heels every day and absolutely smashing it, I couldn't. I just couldn't do the being at home, doing the arts and crafts and the baking, and then still going to work. So I left that job, started up Peachy, and there was never any intention of it being for anyone else other than me. I was supposed to just sort of work on my own and just clean a couple of homes. And obviously that snowballed, and it turned out I was actually really quite entrepreneurial. I figured out that the drive and the passion that I'd had for other people's businesses, all of a sudden, I was really interested in the processes and bits for my own business. And then it obviously just snowballed, and I started recruiting. But I wanted to make a workplace accessible to women with children, because there weren't any jobs available between 9 till 3, between school hours, who sort of gave time off during term time, because childcare's bloody expensive for us with little ones. So that was the whole sort of drive behind Peachy as it grew. And then our purpose, I think I've spoken to Mike before, of saying, I think it's really hard to sort of look outside of your business, because you go, well, we clean homes and offices, that's what we do, but that's really not it. So I've written down that we're clean. I said, yes, we're cleaners, but that's not just who we are. We're time creators, freedom givers, burden lifters, resolving marital arguments. We're counsellors, dependers, listeners, here to help the elderly, cuddle your pets. We see your kids grow up and go to uni. We are your family.
Amazing. So, amazing.
I think that is basically really what we are, not just cleaners at all. We are the M&S. We are not just cleaners. We are Peachy cleaners.
Amazing. And you know, it's fantastic to hear, you know, these stories and how you've got to where you have, and also that Alice just captures it perfectly. Kate, how about Green Zone? Where's Green Zone in this?
So I think since I've only been with the business since October last year, and I think what really inspired me to join them as a company was we've got our workforce is predominantly female, so we employ about 70% women. Our CEO is a woman and really, really inspirational. And has been fantastic at sort of helping develop and facilitate learning and training. So that's what really attracted me to them. That, and obviously I think, you know, from what we do, we're a waste broker. So, you know, small little businesses who, you know, don't really have the time to necessarily focus on having their waste removed, or if they're a small food business, you know, you've got multiple waste streams, and basically you call our team and we'll take care of everything for you. In a lot of aspects, we actually use, you know, our services nationwide, and we use a lot of SME contractors over and above the sort of the bigger waste companies. And I think our overall mantra, we've been on quite a journey since I joined to establish a mission statement and what is our purpose and our identity. And we've decided, you know, that our mission is basically to make our communities better. So that's creating, you know, a more sustainable future. You know, we live and breathe, you know, encouraging recycling and reducing waste at source. And I just felt particularly passionate about that ethos. And it's been a whirlwind journey since I've sort of joined and been there for about, well, almost 6 months now. But I think everybody, you know, really pulls together, and it's a really passionate team. And, you know, a lot of our employees live in Newark, which, you know, is great. And the business itself, I think, was established in 2007 from, you know, just a small business, and we now sort of turn over about £16 million a year. So to be part of, you know, a family business that's gone from strength to strength, and is always, you know, embraces change and is always, you know, gearing up to adapt to whatever, you know, the latest technology is, or the latest innovations in waste management, it's been really eye-opening for me personally. So yeah.
Brilliant. Thank you. And that inspiration as to why you've joined and actually been part of the team, and, you know, really powerful. Thank you, Kate. Thanks, everybody. That's fantastic sharing that. So point 2, David, what's the next area we need to think about?
The second thing that we want to look at is context. So providing the context, setting the scene. So you've got the why you started the business, why the business is important, what gets you out of bed. You've got the purpose, the problem you solve for people, the great thing that you do. So putting a bit of a wrap around about that. Why does what you're saying matter to the community? What's the context? And looking at you know, the last year, 2 years, obviously, a lot of the context has been around COVID and the change that your business has gone through, the change that people within your business has gone through, the change that your clients and your customers have gone through. So that's got to be part of the story, that for every business that has had an effect. So was it COVID? Was it lockdown? Was it being at home, remote working, hybrid working? Was it reopening? The fact that you've come back and you've done something differently? Well, there was a lot of talk at the start about the new normal, and we're sort of, are we in the new normal now? What does that do? How's that changed your business? And remembering that these are the Newark Business Awards. So you've got to talk about Newark. You've got to talk about how you sit within the community. So Kate was talking about the community there. That's fantastic to make sure that you're positioning yourself as a Newark business and not just as a business, because these are the Newark Business Awards. And then see the big picture. So we talk about the social, the environmental, and the economic. So what is the social context of what you do? How does it affect people's lives and the way that they're changing and the concerns that they have? Environmental is quite big, so certainly for waste management, but what are the environmental impact of what you do? Is there a story around that? And economically, how do you know, if you've become a larger business, and we talked about employing local people, creating jobs within the community. So it's putting a bit of a wrap around in terms of how does your business sit within the context of the social, the environmental, the big picture? How does it sit within the context of Newark? And how does it sit within the context of the last couple of years, which have been pretty unusual in most of our lifetime? So that's part of the story, not just what the business in, but the context that it sits in. So how has that affected your business, your last 12 months in particular? Because that's the focus of the Business Awards. You've got that context and that backstory, but it is the 2022 Business Awards. So you've really got to say what's happened in the last 12 months. And you will have been on some kind of change journey.
So do you want to just take 2 minutes just to make a few notes around context of what's happened in the last, just to, while it's fresh in your mind?
It's 12 months, it's Newark, and it's any bigger picture things. So some of you have talked about social and some of you have talked about environmental and even economic in terms of job creation. The 3 possible contextual areas.
Okay, so we're not going to go around the room. We're just conscious of time, but hopefully that's got you thinking. So we'll go on to number 3, the third of our 5. And this is now starting to get into question 4 and 5 of the application, which talks about achievements of the past 12 months. And obviously that's then getting into the criteria piece. So KPIs, key performance indicators and achievements. So what are the things, and remember this is the last 12 months, that you're most proud of? What have you achieved against your targets? What have you achieved against the odds, against expectations? We've already set the context, so we've talked about what's been going on in the community, in the macro piece around, if you're a retailer, what's been happening about having to be shut. If you're a cleaner, what's that happened in terms of, you know, how's it affected your business with mask wearing and being able to go into houses? Obviously with the waste management piece, how's that affected your business because of lockdowns and people's habits changing, etc. So what are the things that have been important? But then about what you've achieved, what are you most proud of? Be really clear about how that is put together, about what you expected to happen, what you've achieved, what are the big achievements. Now, one of the things that can help with this is statistics. Totals are really important, but so are percentages. So you know, a growth of 10 might not sound great, but a growth of 60% sounds a lot better, and they can be the same information. So let's use that to our advantage. Chunk up as well. So take some information. So we've got an example here where if you do free weekly sessions, so if you are in a business advisor or business coach, and you might put out free weekly sessions. I'm not sure who might do that in the local community, but some people do that. So if you put out free weekly sessions, that sounds great. That's a really nice thing to do. Actually, if you chunk that up to 120 hours of free support, that now sounds really impressive. And if you break that down further and say, actually, chunk that up further and say that's 125 separate sessions of free business support. So if you think about from a free weekly session to 125 separate sessions of free business support, which one would stand out greater to a judge? Which one would they go, oh, actually, that's impressive? So think about the information you're sharing. Think about how it looks and how it reads. Don't undersell yourself. Don't leave yourself saying something that could look more impressive. And that's not about extending the truth. The information I've just shared with you is exactly the same. A weekly session versus 125 separate sessions. It's exactly the same. But how it's put together, how it's produced is really important. And make it relevant to the judging criteria we talked about before. So if you're business person of the year, maybe you're encouraging overall business success in the region. So it's not just about your business. It might be about what you've done for the wider community, how you've brought other people together, because that's as important for that criteria as your own business, because it's business person. It's not business of the year. Now, business of the year might be about what you've done in your business. And that's where separating the different categories when you're writing out your question 5, which is, you know, this different criteria for the categories, is making sure that what you're writing is relevant to the category. So I think this is something that would be good just to quickly go around the room. So 1, what's your biggest achievements in the past 12 months? Simon, I'm going to come to you first. Oh, you've put your hand up. Have you put your hand up? No, yeah, you have.
I hadn't put my hand up, but I'm happy to go first. I think with this particularly, it's impossible for us not to dwell upon the period of COVID that we've all been through, and I guess that stretches more than the past 12 months. But it's for our business, it was the impact that had was massive, because it affected every single one of our clients in one way or another. And in many cases, we were the port of call when any level of advice was needed, or any assistance needed in those things. The thing that I'm certainly most proud of is the way that we're able to support our clients through that. We took the view very early on in COVID that we would process furlough claims for our clients, and we would do that free of charge in the vast majority of cases. And during the course of that period, we processed over, and we're only a small business, but we processed over £2 million worth of furlough claims for our clients, which I am very sure has helped to protect jobs and to protect individual businesses. And yeah, that's something that I and the whole business are incredibly proud to have been able to be part of. And I'm pleased that we have kept the vast majority of our clients through that period as well. And our new client acquisition has actually gone up as a result of that. Amazing.
And that sort of is so important to shout that out and to highlight that. So brilliant. Thank you, Simon. Thanks for starting. Kate, how about yourself?
Well, I think Green Zone as a business has undergone in the last sort of 12 months some massive changes. So towards the beginning of, sort of early part of last year, they bought out the majority shareholders. So now it is a family-run business. They appointed a new CEO, had a complete change in senior leadership, who've just taken the business from strength to strength. We've employed a commercial director, which has obviously seen our sort of the large part of our business grow quite substantially. We've branched into new sectors and new markets that we hadn't previously. I'm obviously a result of the kind of the buyout as well. So, I'm quite new to the team. We've expanded our HR and training team as well. In terms of our customer service department, we've employed new what we call sort of key account managers and customer service advisors, because obviously with the increase in business comes an increase in being able to service those clients effectively. So in turn, that's obviously created new employment as well, which I'm sort of particularly proud of. I think we've sort of embarked on initiatives where we're starting to look. There's a lot of talk around the sort of the circular economy at the moment, and how we instead of obviously recycling things, how do we upcycle and how do we reuse? And we formed a number of sort of partnerships with sort of East Midlands based businesses where we recycle and repurpose office furniture. And obviously those then are able to be sold on to sort of charities at reduced prices. So we've done a lot that we're particularly proud of. I think the biggest challenge for me is we have done so much that it's just kind of consolidating it all and just cherry picking what's the most relevant and what's the most important.
I mean, there's so much there to get your teeth into. So fantastic.
Yeah.
And I think, absolutely, it's about taking each one of them, and so that how many actual roles have you created in the last 12 months?
Yeah.
Because that's a big part of it. How much has the business grown? So what can you put that in a percentage terms? Not everybody wants to quote actual cash numbers, and we get that, but what's the percent? So bringing those to life so that as a judge it stands out from the paper, it stands out as being something that they can differentiate you from your competition in the category. I think that's really important. Thank you, Kate. That's fantastic. Janice, what's your biggest success of this year or biggest achievement?
Had a waiting list when I opened from being shut. So April last year when I opened, I got a waiting list. I've taken on 2 people, so I'm an employee now, which an employer, first time ever. So that's been fantastic. I'm really looking at the local area schools, breast support groups, WI groups. I'm supporting local people, what they're coming to me and asking for, accessibility, parking outside. And, I feel that what we offer is such a one-to-one personal service that you just can't get on on the high street and that. So I'm out just at Sutton-on-Trent, but I'm very accessible off the A1 and the local people.
Brilliant. And again, you know, the becoming an employer, you know, those things that really stand out in, you know, growing your team is really important. So.
Oh, and I've had to go VAT registered as well, so that shows that I've just gone over the VAT threshold, which for a new business, that for me personally, that was really showing that I'm growing as a business.
Yeah, that's always a scary time when you suddenly realise you're over that threshold, and are you a real business at that point? You're not, but we're always a real business, but it suddenly brings it home to you. So
yeah,
fantastic, Janice. Thank you for that. Alice, how about yourself?
Well, I think besides staying open, which in itself, we're like, whoa, what an achievement. Coming back, very much like Janice, having a huge waiting list to come back to that we actually couldn't fulfill. So then going down, recruiting again. And I think as every business, it's been such a wobbly time with recruitment, coming and going and coming and going. And you think you've picked the right ones and having to make some real hard, sharp decisions in the business. So obviously Jess got promoted at sort of last year or the year before anyways, like ops manager, to be like almost my second, and saying there's too much for Jess to do and for me to do. So I've recently promoted Becky, and she is now promoted into sort of the admin customer service role. So that means that it's now me, Jess and Becky. So I'm out of it so much more. But there's a nice steady team of 3 to oversee the whole team now, so we can push on and out. And it's been about making real bad sacrifices, not bad, but really hard ones, of going, okay, so we can't fulfill the client's needs because we have to put the training first. We have to get the staff trained up to keep us going. And it's been doing things that's been completely out of our nature for the last 12 months, and we've been real outside of our comfort zone. But we're reaping the rewards now because the team that we've got are absolutely solid, and seeing Jess and Becky come into their own and absolutely flourish has been incredible. To watch them both grow has been amazing. So I think my achievement is sort of building up Jess and Becky and creating 2 mini versions of me who actually understand business now. It's like having 2 other little kids, isn't it, that you've grown and gone, oh look, they've all grown up, they can go do it now.
Yeah, I mean, and that development of individuals, growing the team, really powerful stories that you can bring to life there. So fantastic, Alice. Thank you. And Claire, your biggest achievement?
Oh gosh, trying to work it out and separate the years as well, because everything just seems to blur. So we only became actually a social enterprise in December 2019, so very new. But we've just had our year-end accounts. So to start with that, we've tripled our turnover to the extent that we now have to, myself and Jackie, co-founders, we are now going to have to become our own employees of the business, because we've managed to secure so much kind of funding and input into the business, which obviously then enables us to help so many more people. So that's at the heart of that. We've taken on 6 Kickstarters. So our team again has grown from 2 volunteers of me and Jackie to now having 6 other people in the team that we manage. And again, you know, we're very passionate about young people coming through the business, having their input, identifying what their strengths are, and then giving them projects within their time with us to really add to their own experience. One finished his Kickstarter time and is now volunteering with us 25 hours a week, whilst we also support and mentor him while he sets up his own business. So the kind of longer reach of what we're doing there is massive for us. Personally, I released my own book, which I'm very proud of. So I'm a best-selling author for children, and percentage of each book sale goes back into the social enterprise. We've launched democracy projects, Youth Voice in Action in schools. We created an online hub. We had funding, so we have 50 videos of experts in the wellbeing industry, completely free for parents and families to access. That's been building, and we've now got a partnership with Nottingham Building Society. which will hopefully be launching in Newark very, very soon, so that we can showcase local experts. And we also launched a staff wellbeing programme with Balfour Beatty, which was incredible, just seeing a group of men in their construction outfits and their muddy boots, jumping around doing the kids' activities, blowing up balloons, paper aeroplanes, but actually affecting a massive change in the business, but also knowing that they're going to take some of that information home to their families. Our network's grown to over 650 experts in wellbeing, and obviously focusing on different regions so that we can then showcase those local experts. And of course, all the case studies from all the kids we've worked with. So I couldn't pick one really, sorry.
No, fantastic. So much there, brilliant.
Yeah.
And I think that's the piece around this. It's about pulling out the key achievements and really making sure that it stands out, because the danger is there's so much that you put it all down and you know what it means, but remember that the person looking at it, you need to tell them, you need to really raise it so they can understand what it means to you, what it means to your business.
That's been our problem as a business generally,
what it means
there
to
are so many strands to it. It's trying to make it clear what it is we actually do and who we help, because it's so vast. Yeah.
So number 4, David.
Okay. So 4 is about telling stories. We've already started on this theme really, but stories are really, really important to put in there, because stories are memorable. Stories make it personal. They make a personal connection through the page between you, your business, and the judge who's reading it, who's trying to work out who goes through to the final, who wins the award. So stories are a real way of connecting with people. They bring that information to life. And where you're making notes, you're putting down information, you've got lots and lots of examples. Turning them into stories, turning them into things that are easy to understand, that connect with people, is massively important. So this chap here is one of the best storytellers of all time. This is Victor Hugo. Victor Hugo wrote The Hunchback of Notre Dame, and he wrote Les Miserables, which obviously has lived on with the musical long after his death. He was a fascinating character. I'd encourage you to Google Victor Hugo. It's really interesting. He lived for the last 15 years of his life on a road that was named after him. He lived in Paris on Avenue Victor Hugo for the last 15 years of his life. He was a celebrity way before we have the kind of celebrity culture that we have now. But this created a problem for him. He was a very gregarious chap in lots of ways, as you'll find out if you Google him. But he used to go out into the streets in Paris, and because everybody knew who he was, he would spend a whole day chatting to people, being surrounded by people, having conversations, enjoying himself, which was fantastic, apart from when he was commissioned to write Les Miserables, and he got what was the equivalent in today's money of £1 million advance to write Les Miserables. And so he needed to write it to get his money. He needed to focus on the book, but he was easily distracted. He would go out and talk to people. So what he did in order to be able to focus on the book was, in the morning, he would go into a room which had only a desk, a chair, some paper, and something to write with. And then he took off all his clothes, and he called a servant, and he gave all his clothes to the servant and said, "Don't bring those back to me until this evening." And there he was, naked in a room. He wasn't able to go out onto the streets of Paris, distract himself, talk to people, and so he was then able to focus on writing Les Miserables. Now, if I ask you next week, what do you remember about Victor Hugo? You will remember the fact that he took off all his clothes to write. It's a memorable story. It's a story about somebody. It's got a bit of an interest into it. It's got something unusual to it. So stories are memorable if you tell them in the right way, and it's information that will stick in people's minds. So if you imagine the judge going through, maybe 20 entries, as Michael's talking about there, and you come to the end, if there's that story in there that's really captured people and go, wow, yeah, do you remember that one where, now, I'm not suggesting that you have a story about taking off all your clothes. That probably take it in the wrong direction in terms of your entry. But what is there that's really going to stick in people's mind when they've read 20 entries and they go, the one I really remember is that one that, what is it about your business that does that? Now, there are 7 basic story types. Overcoming the monster, so, Beowulf beating the beast. Rags to riches, where humble beginnings, we created this fantastic business. The quest, where you're looking for something and you find it, where you go away on a voyage and come back to where you started. comedy, tragedy, and a rebirth, a renaissance. But what's really key to you, and you started to do this already, is finding your founder's story. This is a really, really important part of your message. So the things that can create a founder's story tend to be around these kind of areas. So it might be a light bulb moment, a light bulb incident, something that happened where you go, I need to start a business. I need to do something differently. There must be a better way than this of doing it. So somebody like James Dyson, one of the most successful entrepreneurs of the last 50 years, massively, he's got about a 13 billion pounds fortune, personal fortune, invented the Dyson cleaner. And that simply became because he had a vacuum cleaner and it lost suction and he got frustrated. But instead of going out and buying a new vacuum cleaner, or instead of just moaning about it, he thought there must be a better way of vacuuming, of cleaning a carpet. And later on, he came across the idea of using cyclonic suction rather than traditional suction. He went through 5,127 prototypes before he came to do it. So there's a whole story behind that. But the original founding thing was his vacuum cleaner didn't work properly and he got frustrated with it. So it may be a light bulb moment. It just must be a better way of making a vacuum cleaner. It may be a mission to change somebody's world. So one of the winners last year was Bean Block Cafe in Newark, which you may know, and their mission is to change the experience of families, mums who want to go out for a coffee with their young children. And they recognised that was a difficult thing to do because young children are unpredictable, as Alice will tell you on this call. They're unpredictable, they make noise, they want attention, and that's not welcome everywhere. So they wanted to create somewhere where that was welcome, where that was the purpose of it, was a family cafe. So is it a mission to change the world for your customers, your clients, to change their experience? Maybe it's a life event, and a couple of you have talked about, Janice and Claire have both talked about life events, things that happened to them that led to, in some way, founding of the business. So was it a life event that you can tell somebody about? One of the winners in the category, or one of two categories I judged last year in Grantham Business Award, had a life event, which was quite interesting. He, pretty much this time 2 years ago, he was living in New York. He was from Grantham, but he was living in New York, working in New York in an events business. He'd been out there a few years, he was doing well, and he came back for his granddad's funeral about this time last year. And while he was back, Boris Johnson on the 23rd of March went onto the television and said, "You must stay at home." And suddenly we were in lockdown. Suddenly he couldn't fly back to America, and he had no idea when he was going to be able to fly back to America, to the life that he had out there, to all his belongings that were out there, the job that was out there. He had no way of getting back to it. And so he was stuck in Grantham. And then he came across an opportunity, then he started a business, then he grew the business, then he employed people. But that life event for him was, I live in New York and I've come back to Grantham for a funeral and now I can't go back to New York. And that's as a judge, that stuck in my mind of, that's just an amazing sort of thing to happen to somebody to lead to founding this business. Or is it a fight of the champion, for or against something? So again, Janice and Claire have got that fight of the champion, where you're championing this group of people to be able to do something differently, be able to have a different experience, to be able to have a better way of X, Y, or Z happening. So what's your founder's story? That's a really useful thing to build in, because founder stories can be really memorable, and there's going to be something that drove you to do that. So what's that story? What's that key story that you're going to include in? We're going to go around, Michael, or what are we doing?
No, I'm conscious it's 10 o'clock already, so we probably.
Okay. So we have covered stories a bit already, but getting to the nub of that story and having a real key story in there that you think will stick in people's mind. And that's where sometimes it's about editing it down. If you've got lots and lots of things, if you just have a whole list of, we've done this, 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 it can get a bit difficult to read. So can you pick out one thing, edit it down, and make it really clear to somebody how that meets your mission, your purpose, your why, how it relates to that? And whether it's a story about you, whether it's a story about a customer or a client or something that happened, having those things in there that are memorable can be really useful. So we'll move on to the fifth one, where you're pulling everything together. You're creating your showcase. This is your opportunity to showcase yourself, showcase your business. So think about the audience, think about the people who are judging, And if you know the individual judge, think about, as we said earlier, you know, what's their interest? Are they an entrepreneur? Are they a logistics person? Are they an accountant? Are they, because people think differently, people will focus differently. So tailor your message a bit to them and think about the language you're using. Think about using powerful language, because one word can change somebody's view of reality. Just changing one word in a sentence can change what people think enormously. So back in 1974, two scientists called Loftus and Palmer did an experiment where they got a group of students together and they showed them a film of a car accident. And then they split them into 5 groups. So they all saw the same film on the screen, split into 5 groups, and they were asked one question. And that question was about how fast were the cars traveling when they blank into each other. And they just substituted a different word for each of the 5 groups into that sentence. So they'd seen the same film, they were asked the same question apart from one word. But that one word had an effect. So the first group were asked about how fast were the cars traveling when they smashed into each other. Second group, about how fast were the cars traveling when they collided into each other, bumped into each other, hit into each other. And the final group, about how fast were the cars traveling when they contacted into each other. And although they'd seen the same film, just changing that one word in the sentence had an effect on the average speed that each of the groups estimated. In fact, it had a 30% increase between using the word contacted and using the word smashed, even though they'd seen exactly the same accident. So changing one word can change that into that in somebody's mind just by using the right word, a power word. So think about when you're getting your entry across, that every word counts. You don't want to have too much information that it's really difficult to read through. Make it easy for the judge, but use that space that you've got. Have a look at your adjectives in particular. So rather than saying it was an interesting situation, it's an interesting story about one of our customers. It was amazing. It was unforgettable. There was a heart-stopping moment. This was a really powerful thing that we found we could do. It was a wonderful experience. It was astonishing when this happened to us. Yeah, rather than, that was good. Was it heartwarming? Was it beneficial to somebody or to a group of people? Was it terrific? Did it bring real value? Was it absolutely first class or unbeatable? Yeah, so think about the words and then crank them up, make what you're saying memorable. So rather than something being difficult, was it challenging or was it complex? Was it a rigorous process? Was it seemingly impenetrable? So every word counts, getting the message across, getting the story across, getting those criteria across. Don't just tick a box, but use the right words, use power words in there. So the 5 steps that we've talked about: knowing your business why you started it, why it's important, what gets you out of bed, knowing the purpose, what problem do you solve for people, what journey do you take them on, the context of Newark, the context of the last year or two, the context maybe of social, environmental, economic situation. Specific KPIs, get some specifics in there, get some numbers, percentages, real achievements, real things. That's amazing. Make sure you're telling stories. Make sure you tell the founder's story. Make sure you get that information in there, and then turn that into a showcase for your business that makes it so compelling that the judge has to put you through to the final, that judge has to make you the winner of your category. So have you covered all the criteria? Have you really sold your business? This isn't the time to be modest. Have you got the main points in early, so you're capturing attention? Have you shown your personality? Does that come through? And have you got somebody to check it over for you? Again, going back to that business person of the year, have you done all these things? Have you got across those points? Would you, if they had a tick box, would they be ticking every single one of those boxes because you've told them exactly why you should be going through to the next round? And then, as Michael mentioned right at the start and Sharon mentioned, this is a real opportunity for your business. Just entering, getting to the final, winning, they're all opportunities. Being there on the night, they're all opportunities to market your business, to use for PR, to tell people what you're doing. So don't just leave the entry to the last minute, send it off, forget about it, and turn up on the night. And then, use it all the way through for social media posts, for engaging, for saying what you're doing, for selling your business. And some of this information that you're pulling together, use that in your marketing. It's not just a story for the business awards, it's a story for your business, for your website, for your social media, for your talking, etc. So, okay, Claire is asking when the awards evening is, which Sharon will tell us in a second.
10th of June.
10th of June, thank you, Mike. And finally, don't assume that they know who you are. However famous you think you are in Newark, don't assume the judge knows who you are. Don't think they understand what your business is about, because you know it really well. It's when we know what we do, it's really easy to think that it must be straightforward for other people, but sometimes it's actually really difficult for other people to understand your business. So make sure you're getting across what it is you do and why it's important and how you're different. And ultimately, what you write down on that form is all you're judged by. And if you're successful, that could be you on the 10th of June, standing there as one of the winners, quaffing Michael's champagne and enjoying the evening. So I'll stop sharing. Michael.
So hopefully that's giving you an insight into how a successful application to a business awards, and specifically the Newark Business Awards, can be put together. If you'd like a copy of the slides, if you can put your email in the chat box before you disappear, then I will share with you the slides as a PDF document, so that there's some things in there that just jog your memory. Do we have any questions? Is there anything that sort of you think, oh crikey? No? Everybody's typing their email at the moment, so they can't multitask. No, I think that's everybody's in, so I'll make sure I save that, because I don't want to, you've gone through all of that and then I don't have them. There we go, save that. Brilliant. So yeah, so hopefully that's been of use and informative and interesting, and it's always good to hear other people's stories as well, and just get you thinking around how you can frame your application. But if there's no other questions, it's just for myself, David and Sharon to wish you all. So Kate, so nominations close tomorrow, Kate. So question that's just come up is what's the deadline? So 5 o'clock tomorrow is the nominations. 5 o'clock on the 26th of March is the deadline for the full application. So the nominations is a basic, short, sharp piece of information that allows you to be into the awards, and then you get sent out a full application form from Sharon and the team.
Can I just say something on that, Michael?
Of course you can.
Guys, if you haven't received your entry pack, please check your spam mail and your junk mail, because they do have a habit of falling in there. I've had a couple of people already this year saying that they haven't had them and they've been sent out for some time. So if you haven't got them, please do check. And just one final point, and thank you so much, Michael and David, for doing this for us. When you're completing your entry, don't do it straight into the Google form. Make sure you get it down in a Word document or whatever format before you actually go into that Google form, because it will time out if you're in there too long. So get down what you want on paper and you know, cut and paste as you work through those questions in the form. Absolutely. Also gives you a chance to read back and maybe even speak to a partner or somebody else to just sense check some of the things you've written, which is never a bad thing to do. And finally, just, you know, it's been brilliant to hear your stories. We'd be, you know, looking forward to seeing them in the application packs as they come through, and we wish you all the very best. Hopefully this has helped you and gets you thinking, and we look forward to seeing some fantastic entries. So all the very best, and if we don't see you before, we'll see you for a glass of something on the 10th of June. Good luck, everybody. All the very best.
Thanks,
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.
Thank you so much, guys.